Simpson's there, Billy's in. The goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome back to the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. 533 days has been a long time to wait. The pining, the yearning, the will to be back among friends and family, to see your team take to the field, the smells, the hum of the crowd, the click of the turnstile for Mr. Kuzmala, the banter, the sound of the ball hitting the net, and the subsequent roar. The promise of summer then followed up with club videos, pictures, kids with face paint, Pozza, and anticipation. The hunger. And then the regret, the mistakes, the officials, the lackluster performance, and those performances that are hard to stomach. Joining myself, Matt Shaw, this week, I have a man who never has a problem stomaching anything on this podcast. It's Phil Senior. You all right, Phil?
Good evening. How are we doing?
Good. With Phil and myself is a man who's finally been able to watch a game and about 1 hour of the warm-up as well. So welcome, Pozza, live from the sauna. How are you doing there?
Yeah, not bad, mate.
Good. And back podcasting, or is he on Gogglebox this week? It's Mr. Richard La Liga Kuzmala. You all right, buddy?
Good, man. Good to see you all, guys.
Good. Right, this episode is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. I'm happy to report that Magic Rock have renewed their sponsorship of this podcast for another season. So going forward and in time, we'll be able to make this podcast more interactive than before and hopefully bring back those live shows sooner rather than later. And I've also got some Town Lager with me, which is a bonus as well. So I might open that live on air and not really live, are we? But see how that goes. I've got some for you guys as well. So there's a couple of cans for you guys as well, which I will give to you Tuesday, if that's all right. Poz? Yep, if you're there.
Yes, I'm there.
Good. Organising. Right.
Don't seem so happy, fellas. Bloody hell. What
it's 9 o'clock. They both want to go to bed, don't they?
Well, good job. It's past the watershed, isn't it?
I'll come for a beer and miss game, I think.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
9 o'clock watershed's gone, so let's fire in, guys. A lot to talk about.
Right then. So then, I've just about calmed down from that performance from Saturday. Still a little bit raw because we're recording on Sunday night. I do realise that Fulham's side is exceptional at this level. It's not lost on me. We've got COVID issues. We were missing 8 or 9 players that may have played, may or may not have played. However. We made a good start, reasonably good start, first 5-10 minutes. I've no idea why we had a goal disallowed. It looked fine to me. It looked, it took a ridiculous amount of time to disallow it as well. The ball was a mile out for their first and possibly hit Mitrovic on the arm as well as his knee. We've been done over by the officials there. There's no two ways about that, but I don't really want to dwell on it. The reaction to going 1-0 down, though, was incredibly poor. You can go a goal down relatively early, and you can respond, and we failed to do so. We stopped playing, stopped pressing, heads dropped. I have a really good view. Kosi, you've sat up with me before. I have a really good view where I sit, and Carlos changed from 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2, 4-3-3. Every 5 minutes, tactics were getting changed. Players were moving around. Dwayne Holmes played about 15 different positions. To me, the players didn't really... It just felt like they didn't quite fully know what their role was supposed to be, completely. And when you've still got that small issue with regards to not knowing exactly fully what you're doing, and you're playing against somebody like Fulham, it's not going to go well because you need to be well drilled, you need to be organised. And it just felt that perhaps we weren't. And I also thought their second goal was offside as well. But even taking the legitimacy of their goals into account, Pozza, it just felt like they were going to score anyway. It was just a matter of time. Even if they'd have disallowed that one, the Mitrovic one got disallowed. I think it was Mitrovic, wasn't it? Far post disallowed. They were essentially going to come out on top in that game. There were no two ways about that. Oz.
Men against boys, Matt. That's all I can say. It were Fulham are, let's not beat around the bush. They are a decent side. They have got some really good players, but we just well, we didn't really do all, did we? As you say, we sort of shuffled around formation. There were no real tactics that I could see. There were no clear style of play. Normally when you watch a match, you can say, well, at least we were trying to do X, Y, and Z. But for me, we couldn't see any of that on Saturday. First 10 minutes, we sort of did all right. Crowd were up for it. Obviously, first game back after a long time. The club bigged it up, welcome home, return home, and all that stuff on social media. And then we did what Huddersfield Town do, and we stab ourselves straight in foot, and a ridiculous back pass from Sorba Thomas, really, from halfway. I'm obviously in south stand, and you could see it were going to be difficult to control. And I think as a keeper there, Phil, you'll probably come in on this, but you've got to make a judgment call of, am I able to control that ball and get rid of it, or do I just let it run out for a corner, give my right winger a bollocking and defend the corner? Because to me, as that ball's bouncing back, you're thinking there's no way it might keep it in, but it's going to cause more problems than it's going to solve. And evidently it did. I mean, you can say, yeah, it went out and everything, but after Schofield's chested it up, his volley is terrible. His technique is awful, and you'd be better off just leaving it and sort of defending the corner. Like you say, it probably wore out, but we shouldn't be in that situation to start with. And then, as you say, Matt, as that went in, never really got going. Second goal from a corner again, poor defending. Johnny Hogg's marking their sort of lad at back post and kind of just gets shoved to the ground. And once it goes 2-0, you're thinking, we're out of it here. And then Matty Pearson actually gets a goal, 2-1. So about 5 minutes before half time, you're thinking, do you know what?
Yeah. Get
back in at 2-1, we've got a chance. And a minute later, again, typical Huddersfield Town, shooting herself in the foot, 3-1. And then, it's game over really for me at 3-1. Fulham had us at arm's length pretty much all second half. And even down at 10, I turned to the guy behind me and said, you know what, ironically, I think that'll make it harder for us, because Fulham were just going to sort of sit back. We have no creativity going forward. We were never really going to trouble them, even with 10. And, a couple of decent balls forward, and they grabbed another couple. And I think that's probably the most sort of embarrassing thing for me. You don't mind losing to Fulham if you've had a good go. As we've said, they are a quality side, but to concede 2 goals when they're down to 10 men and not really even have a go is poor. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. I think Stephen Chicken said it in his article, didn't he? It's not the defeat, it's the manner of the defeat. And we beat Sheffield Wednesday on penalties. We'd got a point at Derby. People were sort of getting a little bit above themselves, really. And I said after Derby to Brady on the little sort of snippets that I did, that Fulham would give us a better marker as to where we are, and going on back a long way off. Not even from being a Fulham, being anywhere near, which I think is really frustrating.
Phil, I'm going to bring you in at this point, because we skate around this subject quite a lot, to be honest, on the podcast, and the subject is Ryan Schofield. I'm going to turn to you because you were a young lad from Huddersfield, trying to come through, a young lad who never made a mistake, obviously, Phil. To us, you were completely perfect, but Ryan's had a tough time now since February, since probably that Wickham game. He's made... I don't want to hammer him, because, Ryan Schofield's a really nice lad. He's one of us. He's a Huddersfield fan, and if you want anybody to succeed, you want one of your own to succeed, and that's fully where I'm at with Ryan. But we have to talk about it. We have to talk about the mistakes he's making. We have to talk about the potential to maybe move him out of the limelight for a bit. Phil, would you do that? I would. I'm not talking necessarily drop him, but I think now's probably a good time when Nichols is back. Obviously, he's got the COVID issues, and maybe Nichols would have started the season anyway. He started at Sheffield Wednesday. But is now the right time to give Ryan a prolonged rest and let Lee Nichols have a go? And maybe Ryan needs to go out on loan potentially to, like Ben Hamer. It worked really well for Ben Hamer. He went to Derby and he came back very different, didn't he? He was bad before that. And it just feels like Ryan's in a position whereby he's at a bit of a crossroads now, and it could go the wrong way, and it could end up getting worse for him before it gets better.
Yeah, I think time on the field is so precious. A lot of kids, and I for one did it when I was younger. I should have gone out on loan a lot quicker. And I think that's really important. For me, it's was Nichols the starting choice this year? Possibly. We're playing against Sheffield Wednesday. I think it probably looked in that way. And then if that's so, Ryan's obviously there. There's a little bit of disappointment, and now obviously with Nichols not being able to play, a little bit of pressure on him now to perform and to prove his worth, kind of thing. And back pass like he received on Saturday isn't going to help him. But again, Pozza hit the nail on the head. It's that I think sometimes that's through experience as well. His first touch, he did ever so well to kind of get it under control, and then he was off balance. And when you're off balance like that, we're never going to make good contact with the ball. And really, he should have either kicked it out of play to the left, or even just let it roll out for a corner, because it's such a difficult situation. But how unfortunate to make a poor contact on the ball. The contact from Mitrovic was even worse, and we're that unlucky at the moment that it just obviously crept in. And like I say, then from then on, I don't think he had one of his better performances. A couple of the goals, I think he would normally shot stopping is unreal, and I think he'll probably look at a few and be a little bit disappointed that he didn't make make a couple of saves in the game. It's difficult, it really is. And I'd like to say he's a young kid. He's gonna make mistakes. He's played a hell of a lot of good games, but he's gonna make mistakes. And you've got to, it's sticking with those kids and allowing them to do that is difficult. And we've said this last season. We're not in a position where we can blood these kids through and allow mistakes to happen, because we're not that kind of team that can do that now. And I think to start the season with a depleted squad through COVID and a lack of, because there will be a lack of confidence still from last season. It's still in your head. You want to start well, and we haven't done, have we? And I think there were a few goals, and you'll probably go on to it in a minute, but there were a few goals that to a man in a 1v1 situation, we must do better, and we're still not doing that.
I think I'll come to you now, Kosi, because, last year we talked about the defence in particular, and you look at that defence, Turton, Colwill, and Matty Pearson. There's three of the four. We started with a back four and went with a five at some point. But it's the same mistakes, same kind of mistakes, new personnel. Is that worrying for you? That we're making the different players making the same mistakes. That can't be the players completely, can it?
No, I mean, I want to concentrate at the other end of the field, to be honest, Matt. And I think some of the biggest issues for us is our weapons last year, Toffolo and Pippa. They were huge. And yeah, you can say we got found out and teams kind of got on top. But when you look at how are you going to hurt a team? I expected to lose 3-0. I put a message in the group, 3-0 defeat. So didn't surprise me we lost. Did surprise me how easy it was and the lack of fight. But I look at, if I'm in opposition, I think, who can hurt me today? Who's going to hurt me? Where's this ball playing midfielder? Where's our Moy? Where's our Eiting? Nowhere. Who's our fullbacks? Turton, solid, steady way. But he ain't, a Pippa and a Toffolo. And to me, it just kind of gives you that confidence. If you're in opposition, it's just like, right, they've not really got anyone who can hurt us, and we can bring it forward. I was quite shocked how easy they kind of threaded the ball through us. Mitrovic, honestly, with a joke at times, he was kind of like shielding the ball, just bringing it into play. Harry Wilson, if he'd had his shooting boots on, he should have scored another and stuff like that as well. That's been it's really strange from a team who conceded 70 odd goals last year. Did anyone concede him? I can't remember if they did, but
no, we were the highest conceded, and we're the highest conceded this season.
But obviously you'd think that. But I was really more worried about kind of attacking power. I always think goals kind of win games, and obviously we'd have
they do, mate. They do. Well done.
No, it's not really late, and I am tired. But that's my worry. Where's our weapons? Where's his ammunition? And
Koroma just doesn't look. Koroma's a great player for us, but for me, I watch it. He just doesn't quite look. No. He doesn't look 100% fit, maybe, at the minute.
I never when he had COVID, mate, and it's like, as much as people don't want to hear that, and kind of COVID is, anyone who's had it is like, it's going to take some getting back from and stuff. And I think what you don't see is like, I think Vesa Campbell had COVID and that as well, and obviously the other guys missing. So it's going to be a nightmare now, because you've got guys who are like 2 weeks behind, 3 weeks behind, and Fulham, like, I mean, shoot me down. I don't know if they've had any issues, but It's totally different.
So.
I just think like you can't. I know people threw at me last night because I had a few arguments like, oh, Chris Powell, we can't compete. Where our squad is at the moment, COVID and what have you, and where Fulham is, we should be only one win yesterday, and they were. But I'm just looking bigger picture. I'm just going Preston North End Tuesday. Who can hurt Preston? Who's going to get our goals? Who's going to take it to them and really give it some? Sorba Thomas shone out, obviously, last week, but it's really worrying. It tell you what it reminded me of, Matt. It's so much like the Bournemouth game a few years ago. The
Matt Robbins one where he hid in the laundry room.
But he's come back well and obviously scored a goal yesterday. But
yeah,
it
well
just
done,
reminded me of that so much. In a way, they hyped the first game back and down like a pin and that as well. You asked me about the guy that's defending and stuff, but I'm more worried about the other end as well, because to me, it's like, it's all right signing Rhodes, it's all right signing the guy from Norwich, I forgot his name already, but who's going to give him the chances, the crosses, the create stuff? They had everything. They were creating so much and getting behind us all the time. Who's doing that for us? Don't see it. And if you're not worried about yesterday, then you should be worried.
Poz, you mentioned very briefly that the reaction 10 men. Carlos said in his post-match that going down to 10 men actually made this. I found this a bit odd, to be honest. With 3-1 down, and Carlos said it made it harder for us because we had to attack, and that kind of stuck out to me as a little bit of a strange comment as well. With 3-1 down at home, admittedly against Fulham, and that was a bit of an odd one. Do you think this side have any mental issues, Poz? To give them credit, last week they went 1-0 down to Derby, didn't we? And we came back and drew 1-1. Derby, admittedly, not the best team in this league. Fulham potentially are. Do you think that maybe we're reading too much into one home game, or do you think there's a continuation of issues from last season just based on what we saw, or potentially? Because, like I say, this is the start of the season. It's not lost on me that Fulham are very good, and it's 2 games in. But do you see early on similar patterns to the end of last year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was basically like watching last year, wasn't it? We conceded goals easily and created very little. That is basically what happened from Christmas onwards. So, as Kosi said, it's different personnel. It might be new, different personnel, but same problems. That's not down to players. That's down to coaches. When we've spoken about it loads of times, but I'll just reiterate. When Carlos took over, we were sort of sold this dream of a certain style of football, and that has been decimated. It's no longer there at all. You've got players trying to play a system that are just not good enough. You've got second half, you've got Ryan Schofield taking a dead ball 3 yards to Naby Sarr stood at the side of him, who then plays it out wide, and then it then gets launched forward. You've got Adam Pearson, who had no interest whatsoever in receiving a ball on edge of area, and why should it? You're not
telling me Carlos wanted these. You ain't telling me Carlos wanted these guys in. But I keep honest, we saw around the football Carlos. Yeah, so Carlos is into this kind of football. Right, we'll sign a slow centre half from Luton, a Blackpool kind of plodding left back. You will sign a reject from Derby who can hardly get in their team, or their fans were glad he went. And then you're expecting us to play sexy football. Who's signing these players, mate? If Carlos is on here, saying I'm signing them, then you're talking out your ass, mate, Carlos, because they're not his signings. So to me, if you're going to play that way in this solid football brand of power football, bring in a powerless manager and bring Carlos at the end of the season. You're not telling me, mate, these are his guys. So how can you blame Pearson? He ain't going to do that. But Phil, he's not going to bring the ball out.
I'm not blaming Pearson as such. I'm just saying that he's not going to get that ball on edge of the box. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that ball. He wants to edit and kick it away like a good old-fashioned centre half should. And I've got absolutely zero problem with that. It's coming on to, is Carlos the right man for the job? Yeah, if he's going to, as you've just said, if he's going to want to play a style of football, I've said all along, this falls on Phil Hodgkinson. He's got to give the manager the players to enable him to play a style of football. And if he's not going to do that, he's on an hiding to notice, Carlos. If I were him, I'd be walking away, because I'd be saying, this is how I want to play. You're giving me these players. I can't do what I want to do. So see you later. Find someone who can work with what you're giving me, because they're not good enough to do what I want to do. So it's, as much as we can criticise Carlos, if he's a manager and has a mindset of how he wants to play, yet he's been given these players, he's not going to be able to do that, is he? So who do you start questioning? You move up the chain, don't you? Who's brought the players in? You know, who's authorised that these are the players that we want? You've got to start looking beyond what happens on the pitch and in the dugout. For me, it's a club problem, is this, not just a Carlos problem. It's deep rooted, and as Matt says, the issues that we're having at the moment are probably a little bit mental rather than anything else, because we've just been used to having so much crap at Town over the last 4 seasons, really, innit? So
it's so true. Like I was out of the country yesterday, so I had it on iFollow. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Just flown back today to come on the pod. And the Fulham guys, again, it's just a misconception. Oh, it's Bielsa, he plays the Bielsa way. You know what? You could have argued that until Christmas. You could have argued that. Yeah. We had real, Derby goal. We had sexy Middlesbrough. We had sexy football, mate, in my opinion. Some really nice football that you could say, wow, this guy is making a difference. But since Christmas onwards, it's not happened. And I know we had injuries, but you look at it now and there's no kind of, what do they call
even before though, because even before Christmas when we scored those nice goals, they were nice goals, and we played that way for
like 5-10 minutes. Like a basketball game, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you could see
we never stamped our authority on a game.
On it, though. You could see we never stamp, in my opinion, before then. Now you look at it, to me, it's almost like, right, we're crying out for a Chris Powell, Danny Cowley, firefighter, let's get us to 16th again. But that's not, like you said, Poz, that's not what we were sold under Carlos. So where's it gone wrong? These guys that are coming, I can't believe that Carlos wanted Danny Ward in Dwayne Holmes, Jordan Rose. Did it? I just refuse to believe that.
Yeah. Easy signings, mate. They were just easy signings. There were 3 players there that wanted to come to Huddersfield Town, and they were easy signings for us to make. That's long and short of it. And no one will convince me otherwise.
You finished arguing? I quite enjoyed that. Me and Phil enjoyed that as well, didn't you?
I think we were making the same point, but arguing about it.
No, but of course, it's like, don't get me wrong, I just get Carlos. He doesn't feel he's not a leader. He seems lost his way, but I think he's just been sold down the river. Like you say, I'd have walked as well, because it's like, I get managers after, especially like in Spain, where kind of presidents sign guys, right, they're the guys, you get on with it, make it work. But I'm just thinking we had a chance to reboot, as they say, at the end of last season. And we signed in, left guys from MK, from Blackpool, from, Sheffield Wednesday who went down and stuff. It's like, to me, it's not a reboot. It's like kind of just chucking in a load of jobs. Honestly, it's so gutting, because Carlos probably will walk the plank and you should have got, but to me, again, he's just crying out for a Cowley kind of guy but I wanted to see some nice football. I were bored of Cowley's football, and, I were getting thrown at me, that we should have kept him. We'll look at what we could have done. But I look at it now and I just think it's needing someone that ilk again, to be honest with you. And I don't think...
I said when he got sacked, it was 12 to 18 months too soon to do what we did. But there's no point going back to that, really. We did what we did, didn't we? And to be honest, there are footballers out there at lower levels, at all sorts of levels. It's just about finding them. And we found one in Sorba Thomas. Let's focus on a positive. Sorba Thomas, for me, last 2 games, okay, he's hit that back pass, but the only times we've looked creative in the last 2 games, Phil, is through Sorba Thomas's set pieces. Tell me, as a big commanding goalkeeper, how difficult it is to come and claim those Sorba Thomas corners. The balls into the box are excellent, and to be honest, we didn't really have that last year. Let's be honest, guys. That's one thing we've added this year, which is a plus. Sorba Thomas's delivery is excellent. How do you see that? And would you play him maybe right side and maybe someone like Rhodes up front, so he could whip those balls around the front of the defense? So make the defense face their own goal and whip them around, because he's definitely got that skill set.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? It's you play, like you say, you play on the right side, and it's that natural curve into the box. But also he can do the same from the left. But it's obviously the timing of the runs. And how the team, how the manager wants to set the team up to play. His delivery is fantastic. He puts it in the right areas, and I think it makes a difference when you've got players who will attack the ball. Matty Pearson will attack the ball with aggression, and obviously it's no surprise that he's popped up, with a goal straight away from it. But like if you think about it, if we had, like you say, like if we had a Sorba Thomas type of player when we had the Cowleys, And what they like to do is try and win free kicks up high and work on set piece and things. And it made a huge difference, wouldn't it? But yeah, he's been a shining light, hasn't he? Like I said before, he's full of confidence. You can see from the back pass, which was a stupid back pass. It reminds me of bloody Pavel Abbott's when we were down at Cheltenham that time. But full of confidence, he believed it was the right thing to do, and I'm sure the manager, gives them kind of like that bit of leeway to do that. But yeah, he's a real find, isn't he? And I just hope that we get these players back fit, and we get the team. I mean, let's not forget, it is really upsetting. 5-1 is shocking, and the performance to boot is not great. But we're 2 games into the season. We've done this before, haven't we? We did this last year where it was like, oh God, we're having a nightmare, and then all of a sudden we kicked on. And I listening to you two talk there, so many points that are so clear. But again, we're just kind of in the middle of who is making decisions. How do we want to play? Are we going to mould these players into players that we want in our style? Is Matty Pearson going to be asked repetitively to get hold of the ball and play? And even if he's not comfortable in doing it, is he going to get him to keep doing that?
Yeah, but Phil, Tom Lees is on our bench, mate. And Wednesday fans are saying, mate, he's a good defender. He'll be good for you. But whatever you do, don't ask him to bring the ball out. Yeah,
exactly. So, and this is what I mean. So are we bringing players in and thinking we can turn that and we can make them better players? And it's a fair argument, to be honest. But like you said there, Matt, we have picked a couple of diamonds up. Sorba Thomas definitely is one of them. There's players all over the place. We said this, tons. We've got players at the club. There's so many players out there that would be crying out for a chance. But we'll go over this argument over and over again. Who's making decisions at this club? Who's picking the players? It's crackers, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
It's true what you say though, Phil. There is players out there, but I don't think we're in a situation now where we can experiment anymore. We need in Championship. You've very. It's a sort of league where you need the nucleus of the squad to be Championship quality, and then you bring in your likes of Sorba Thomas around that sort of quality. And for me, that's what we're lacking. We're lacking that any sort of quality across any sort of position.
But so, that kind of player that we need, quality, you're gonna have to pay money at Championship level to get a ready-made person.
And that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're struggling already. Full stop. You're either looking at.
But that comes back to the sort of discussion that we've just been looking at in regards to recruitment over the summer. Yeah. We gave extra year contracts to 2 players who were sitting on really good money in the hope that we could offload them to then bring them in. And that now looks like an absolutely shocking decision, doesn't it? Because
we'll
get them off the books, okay, you might not get a lump sum.
Give that till the end of the window.
We've still got a couple of weeks left. Yeah, what I'm saying is that should have been sorted. That this we could not be having this discussion. Get rid of those players. Get them off the books. Bring players who want to be at the club. No point in having players playing in the B team that are on north of 20 grand a week, most likely. That money can be better used elsewhere. And again, that comes back to hierarchy at club making decisions that are poor. It's all right saying, "Oh yeah, windows open," and it is. But have we got time to bring anybody in? Then do we have to set them up to learn our system? Do they have to get fit, etc., etc., etc.? So it's a knock-on effect, another decision from the top in regards to players that's hamstringing us at the moment. So I have no faith in, even if any player leaves, that we will be able to replace or with any sort of quality.
Why should we be shocked though? Who was his best player? Toffolo, nowhere to be seen. Wants out. Will he go before the window? Good chance, mate. He wants out. Pippa, not fit, not there. Quality. Chroma, behind on COVID, not there. O'Brien, go in, cover. So as quality that we've got there, none of them are there, and we get absolutely battered by full. So why should we be shocked? I was more shocked, and you said it, Pozza, that people were. I get people at start of the season were backing and I'm trying to get these positives, but Sheffield Wednesday, rubbish, man. We should have scored. We couldn't score. Derby, we were horrendous. So I was surprised everyone were upbeat, but so it wasn't a surprise. The Preston game is absolutely huge because let's be honest, let's have it out here. Sheffield United, they haven't started well, but they'll beat us. Everton, they'll beat us. So that game is absolutely massive on Tuesday night. I was chatting to a Preston fan today who went yesterday, and he said
they're in the shit as well.
They're garbage, rubbish. So it's 2 bad teams Tuesday, but it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a battle. crowd are going to get on the back and stuff. You know, I could hear it on when I were abroad yesterday on iPod when sad. I mean, understandable because we were 3-1 down and go get it forward, but stuff. But that Carlos's way is, I think, is his principles. I get it, managers. This is the way we play, or I might as well go. But you ain't going to get Matty Pearson launching it or Sarr, Lees and stuff. But maybe that's what it needs to kind of play other teams out. But it won't happen under Carlos. Tuesday is absolutely huge. And God, it's in August, isn't it? And people shut up, blah, blah, blah. But the big problem is, mate, O'Brien needs to go. We need to swallow his pride, take the fee, what, Leeds United won. It might help for us that Leeds got bad yesterday. That deal could be done. But because forget about, we need to get players in. He's going, whether it's it's going this window or end of the season. We've got to be concentrating on our quality because you're not telling me there's guys here thinking, right, I'm going to hang on a bit here because the other time coming from the fourth window so I can get there. It's a deeply worrying for me because O'Brien's going to go. But like I said, Pozza, who's there to come in? Our quality is short and Toffolo is, it's huge. I can't believe it's not being talked about as much, and that as well.
A lot of fans reeling from your little breaking news there that Toffolo wants out, Kosi. I think that was a little
Devlin,
bit.
No, it wasn't me that said it. Devlin said it as good as saying it, didn't it?
I don't know.
Again, that was another thing that didn't get shouted about. When he put that message on a month or two ago, he was as good as saying, there's people here that if they're not going to sign a contract, we're going to have to get rid of. He said it without naming the names, but I was amazed it didn't kind of make kind of headlines because to me it was as good as saying, Toffolo and O'Brien. Adios, and obviously the O'Brien Leeds thing, that ain't going away. Toffolo.
Well, there's 2 clubs in for O'Brien, isn't there now? So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got any quality, and the ones that are there want to go. But the trouble is, August window, it's like 2 weeks to the end. It's such a mess. If this chat were in May, I'd be like, no problem. But I can just see it now. O'Brien goes.
This window is very, very quiet, though, isn't it? And the transfers are notorious for the domino effect, where we thought it might happen with Grealish or Kane, whereby something at the top goes 100 million, you flick the domino, and then it starts trickling down. And it's not really started filtering down yet, has it? But
sorry, just to come back in that podcast I did for you last week, we're a bit carnage because there were fans from all clubs and what have you. But someone made a good point to me. He said, "Look, you talk because I was saying we're short of this, we're short of that, and they were a Forest fan, we're short of this, we're short of that, and the Derby, we're short of this and that." He says, "Mate, I don't know any clubs that are kind of have said we've got the perfect squad." So there's a lot of clubs short of a lot of players, a lot of
Fulham do.
Yeah.
But everyone also says we need a striker. Everyone always says that.
Fans always are never happy with the squad. But to me, it sounds like saving grace. There's a lot of clubs in a bit of a pickle. And I think Preston, who we meet Tuesday, God forbid they beat us, but they're in a mess as well. So it's such a mess. It's just such a weird picture at the moment. It's like
it is weird because if we beat Preston 3-0 on Tuesday, we're recording live from Magic Rock, dancing around the kegs. That way, it's completely different. It's so early on.
Yeah, if we're losing yesterday to
3-0 steady.
Yeah, but I think we saw the same old traits to me. I think that's what the worry is for people. But I just can't believe we ain't got a ball playing midfield, a conductor of the orchestra, as I say. We ain't got one. Dwayne Holmes. I feel a bit for Dwayne Holmes because, God, I've been.
He's never had a run though, mate. He's never had a run in a position which is his, and he's played right. He's literally played everywhere apart from goalkeeper. He's played up front. He's played left back. He's played all over as Dwayne. And there's a few people saying that there was a bit of stick given to him and he gave a bit back. And there's probably obviously frustration spilling over with everyone there. But I think Dwayne just needs a run in a position which is his, doesn't he? Really, and then we can make a proper judgment. And I'm not overly convinced that Carlos has helped Dwayne, if I'm honest there. And there's things Carlos has done well. Scott High came on second half and he was great. He changed the complexion of our midfield. Okay, it didn't really affect the game massively, but his energy is really excellent, isn't it, Poz? He's the crossfield balls he was hitting, turn, ping. Okay, he makes a couple of odd decisions in the defensive third, in terms of around our own box. We saw that against Wickham end of last season, and there was one yesterday. But that sort of energy, his enthusiasm, that lifted Town's level a little bit, Scott High. And Levi Colwill as well, another one who had a good game, I thought. He played left back, left centre back, and he was filtering back and forth. And I think there are positives there, and Carlos has done that. I'm trying to put positive spins on that because I'm going to go to the football forum in a couple of minutes, and
Can't imagine
they're not all sunshines and lollipops in there. I'll be honest, but there are there are things there that Carlos has done quite well in terms of Scott High and Levi Colwell coming in, but Dwayne Holmes does. I am frustrated by how Dwayne's been used. Pause is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't surprise me there that Carlos has done well with the odd individual, because when you look at a football club and he's come from an under 23 level where results don't really matter in that area. They are looking to improve players individually, and I think that's where Carlos lets himself down. He's really good at an individual. So, like you say, Scott High, you can get a little bit of a tune out of him, but put him in charge of 11, and he suddenly sort of gets a little bit confused, almost like you said yesterday.
Chicken nailed
if you all time.
Pause. Have you read Stephen Chicken's 5? He's
I've
done
not read the 5 one.
No,
read
he
his,
did
read his other one.
And he mentions quite clearly in there, and me and him have had similar conversations in WhatsApp as well, about the potential for Carlos to overcomplicate things. And I mentioned it earlier as well, in that the systems, we played 3 systems every 5 minutes. He's swapping, he's tinkering, he's very active and animated on the touchline. And players are just genuinely sat there and looking at him, and they're a little bit like, "Well, where am I supposed to be now?" And
he's very
do you think he
over?
Yeah, do you think he's like a Bugs Bunny character, but do you think he sort of overcomplicates it? And he just needs to chill out a bit, on the touchline, sit on his bucket, whatever he was doing. He was sat on some kind of mobile suitcase, or it looked like, in the game. Do you think he just needs to chill out and let things?
I think we mentioned it last year, didn't we, about going back to basics, and he did for us for a little bit of a period of season, and we did seem to improve. Post Christmas, when we were looking like we were really heading for relegation, he kind of adjusted how we played. And I remember chatting on here about it, saying he went back to basics. But if his overall ethos isn't to play like that, he's going to want to put his ethos and style of football on the pitch, and
that's a halfway house,
his decision,
though,
and he'll live and die by that.
The problem.
If I said to you, Matt, you were at that match yesterday. Can you tell me what style of football Huddersfield Town play? Could you explain after seeing that yesterday?
I would have said it looks like defensive football hit them on set pieces and counters without countering.
And compare that to what we were told we were going to get is sort of chalk and cheese, isn't it? So for me, there's no real improvement in anything since he came in. And how we were playing under Cowlers, it's not that different. We had that little bit at Christmas, up until Christmas. Sorry, at the start of the season where we played well. Yeah, in fits and starts though. In fits and starts, we did it for 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there, but it weren't a. We
were quite brave at one point as well. I thought under Cat we weren't.
The thing with Dwayne Holmes that I don't get right. So Carlos, it's not like he's arrived mid-season and Dwayne Holmes is there. We have gone to Derby County and said we want Dwayne Holmes. We have signed him. So why, if you're wanting him, you must have an home for him. I am signing you, Dwayne, to do this. Because like what you said, man, what? I don't get it. It's like, it's not as if he's got him and think, oh, shit, what do I do with this guy? Where do I play him? What it looks like, it's like he must have had an idea. Or it goes back to what you're saying, Phil. This isn't a Carlos signing. Someone's above saying, he wants to come home. There you go. There's Dwayne Holmes. Carlos, crack on. And he's like, shit, where do I play? Because that's how it looks to me. I can refuse to believe Dwayne Holmes can be bad as this. No,
Dwayne Holmes, the year before, Dwayne was one of the players of the year at Derby when they got in the playoffs. So, so he's not that bad. Or what? Well, so he's not a bad player.
Come on, I think we know who signed Dwayne Holmes because the information from what Dwayne said in terms of who he spoke to, sending messages on phone calls and etc. and going out of his way to talk to certain people in the club. It's not a Carlos signing, is it? But yeah, Matt, you're right. I've often looked at Dwayne and thought, he's flying. He looks a decent player. We haven't seen that yet, have we? And you'd all hit the nail on the head. Like he's not been used, has he? He's not been played in a position. Where does he want to play him in that position? Because he's got bags of ability, but he's just been messed. He's another one that's just been messed around and is expected to perform wherever he's played.
Phil, do you think it's a bit harsh? Because I sometimes think, obviously with the other two, Ward and we're not so much for us, but it's like a comfy signing. He's happy. He knows the area. It's almost like winding kind of down. I mean, it's still at a young age. Or do you think I'm being a bit harsh there? Because to me, it just seems. I never like players going back. I just feel it's a.
I agree.
Thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think
fair,
sometimes I feel like it's too easy.
He looks like a guy who cares, though. I mean, the fact that
of course he does.
Allegedly there's a bit of spite between the fans, but this looks like a guy who I can imagine we've lost and he's mad and he's chucking his boots about, what have you. But so it kind of feels when I'm having a go with a comfort zone thing, from what I'm seeing, it doesn't feel right because he doesn't seem that kind of guy, you know.
No, what he'll get with Dwayne as well is that he's very vocal on social media. So, and you know, that's his own personal choice, etc. But there will be issues with fans going forward because he will voice his opinion and he'll stick up for himself. So there'll be.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that within reason. I don't mind that.
I don't. I mean, to be fair, I never played when it was social media and stuff. So, but for me, if I were playing now, I'd be off social media. I'd stay quiet. I won't get involved in anything because you just set yourself up, really, don't you? If you're not performing well, you set yourself up to fail. So, but fair play to him. But yeah, I don't think he's been used as he should, and I think it's been a little bit unfair on him. But again, it was a decision wanted to bring him into the club.
Okay, so I was going to start adding into the podcast a bit more of an analytical section. But after a 5-1 defeat, there's no point because you can say what you want about what you see in Infogol or whoscored.com. But, at the end of the day, when it's 5-1, it doesn't really matter, does it? There's no point really going too deep into that. The only thing really that we can see is we're not creating too many chances from open play, which is the most worrying aspect, I would say. But, our main source of creativity is Sorba Thomas's set pieces, which are great, which is a welcome addition to this season. I'm just trying to work out if Pozza's frozen or whether he's just sort of staring off into the distance. He's definitely frozen. Definitely frozen, hasn't he?
I think his heating system's broken out. So I
think he's just gone to put more water on the coals.
Just got some water on coals, mate. That's all.
There he is. Right, guys, shall we brave the football forum? So
get it going.
What I've started to do, so we'll jump in with the comments. I've picked out two at the end. Pause, you know which one is, don't you? From Hursty HTFC and another one as well. So what I'll do is I'll try and read as many as possible. Apologies to everybody. It's not possible. The idea really is to post it as close to the final whistle as possible and to get the sort of real raw sort of emotion of how you're feeling at that time, rather than, what I do, where I like to kind of like kick off quietly, and then kind of calm down, and then the podcast comes around and you're like, well, okay, it wasn't that bad. Let's get the raw emotion out there and really feel how, let's see how people feel at the end of the game. So I'll try to read some of these out. If you guys want to jump in with after the comments, then please do so. So with the first one, Tony up north says, pro Sorba Thomas is a wonderful player, and Matty Pearson and Cole will have a decent future at centre-back. The cons are we're hopeless up front. Schofield should be in League 2 max. No number 10. Strikers are Bab. Midfield creativity, C3. Squad depth is still naff, and is CC good enough? Should also add the ownership and senior management of the club is the poorest it's been. Bjorn Gambach says, I was happy to be at the stadium for 10 minutes. Then I was sitting with my head between my hands for the rest, and so did the players. Dag Barnett says, I didn't go today, but I wasn't surprised. Yes, COVID played a part, but our centre midfield isn't good enough. We lack a credible centre forward. Our defensive shape issues seem to have continued from last season. 2 weeks to make changes. Will we do something? I have no idea. Denny Ledger. So Denny, as if you follow Denny on social media, he's the man who is running our fantasy Premier League and Championship games. Sneaky rise to 7th for myself in the Championship game. I'm coming for Denny. He says Sorba assist from a set piece. Centre back got his head on it. Again, no goals from open play in 3 games. Same old. Dan Peckett. Club need to back the manager. Simple as that. If they don't trust him, sack him. But the owner cannot continue to not back managers properly, yet expect miracles. And that is tapered by the Huddersfield Town family-friendly Twitter account, which says you can't jump on the CC out campaign with a number of key players missing. Had our goals stood, had their first been flagged, it could have been different, which is true. But our heads went after that, and we just waved the white flag. Massive wake-up call, this, because it was just dreadful. Kosi, your mate here, Steve Gerrard, not the Steve Gerrard. He says, my opinion is we have appointed a quite horrendous coach, stroke manager who is absolutely clueless and is confusing fans, players alike with his nonsensical tactics. We beat ourselves every game. Teams just need to bring a picnic. So very similar. So HDFC 86, echoes that really. Town have issues all over the pitch, recruitment, owner, no money, coach out of the depth, etc., etc. It does follow this kind of theme. Joe Pollard, same naivety, same problems. Dom Campbell, Sorba Thomas is a positive along with Scott High. Rest probably not good enough. Tom Reaney, Sorba Thomas looks a good player. Main conclusion is the officials have had it easy during COVID. 2 absolute clangers from them, and they would have heard nothing about it without fans there. I think the officials got off very lightly considering the 2 or 3 things they got away with, and hopefully they'll be in the National League next week.
Our goal wasn't a goal, though. I thought at first it was a perfectly good goal, but it wasn't, though.
Do you know what? I'll be honest, they didn't put it on the highlights, so I've not seen it yet. Cause in live, it looked like it looked like it hit Danny Ward, but from my angle where I say it looked like Danny Ward had someone behind him holding him. So, but it was really late. Matty Pearson scored and then ran round to the other corner flag, and then he raised his flag, and it was real sort of shithouse linesman from him. It was pretty much like he pointed and laughed and waved his flag. It was really late, but anyway, what do you say, Kosi? VAR for the championship?
Yeah, but you could have argued.
It brings a different kettle of fish to that, doesn't it? So thanks to Jay Bentley.
You know what's interesting with these comments, Matt? Sorry, you said jump in, so I'm gonna.
I'll go for it. Just don't let that towel slip.
Usually, when when you're in this sort of scenario, you get quite a lot of differing views. As in, you'll have extremes, so you'll have people that think it's absolutely terrible, and some people that are really, really positive, and everything's all right. The absolutely positive and everything's all right people don't seem to exist anymore. Literally everything you've read out there.
Richard Hookey did say he did come in, did Richard Hookey, and say that it's a bit of a doom and gloom parade. And I asked him for a positive, and he did say there were 44 games left, and he is right. There is 44 games left, so.
I'd take that as a negative because there's 44 games left.
I didn't want to reply with that. But I think there is a good point he's making in that it's only 2 games. I keep trying to stress that we shouldn't maybe it's too early to jump in double-footed after 2 games with against what we suspect are the worst and best teams in this league. Discounting Huddersfield Town.
It is only 2 games in, but as we've already said on here, it's the same things that were happening last year. So if we were better in those areas but making mistakes because we were doing something a little bit different, I'd go with, it's only two games in, we can see some improvement, so we're going to move towards continuing on that upward trend. But from what I've seen, is basically exactly what's happened last year is happening now. So I can't get on board with it's only 2 games, because for me it's what is it, 3 wins in? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 26, 28. No, even worse then. So yeah. I know you can edit stats to make it look worse than what they are.
I think that counts the Sheffield Wednesday game as a draw as well, not a win on penalties. If you like.
But it was a draw, though, wasn't it, after 90 minutes?
Technically,
so, it should be included.
I've tweeted a picture of you in the sauna, Poz. You probably haven't seen this yet because you're not using your phone, and I've had a response from Michael Casey which says he looks bleep bleep hot, mate, which made me laugh.
Oh well,
So I thought that was quite. I thought that was quite good. It's obviously making reference to Phil's thing with text message about Carlos.
Yeah. Which again, it'd be interesting to see who said that, wouldn't it? Because what were it is.
I think we all know. I think Phil gave enough clues as to who that was. I think we could all work that one out without saying his name.
Well, he's obviously not acted on that advice, because didn't he say back him because he's so good, and he's not been backed again, has he? So
let's wait till the end of the window. Hopefully,
we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, then we'll go full tirade then.
Yeah, so Ryan Pickup says basic mistakes we make game after game. Going back to last season, players don't seem to be able to think for themselves. Mark,
do you know sorry, Matt. I think that's a good assessment, to be honest.
Overcoached?
Because whether it's overcoached or not, there's still whether you're confused about how you want to play formations, etc. There's still some real basic mistakes. We've conceded another flick on from the near post. We can't deal with that. That's basic. Win the header, win the first header.
Front and back.
So irrelevant of what happened after that, win the first header. So there's so many basic mistakes. If you're defending out wide, send your man out wide and be ready. If you can't see, Naby Sarr's coming round you as a defender. Naby Sarr, tell your other centre half, send him into me. So you've got 2 people to tackle 1 person.
Don't turn around and moonwalk.
There's some real basic mistakes that we make still. And that's players. That's not coach or tactics or anything like that. That's players. And I like that assessment because it's key. You can say whatever you want about managers or all like that. At the end of the day, the players have still got to perform on the pitch, and those bit. We give simple goals. They haven't had to work for one goal Saturday.
That was from that tweet was from @Ryan @Ryan_pickup, so you can follow him. And while you're there, you can follow me yet, Phil. You've still not followed me on Twitter.
I'm a nightmare. I don't know why.
So Mark, the White of Acrefield. I'm not sure what's going on there, Mark. Already conceded the most goals this season. Something's never changed. John Broadley, big worry was conceding as soon after scoring and just before half time. Yes, that was a real sort of kick in the gut. Was that different players, same problems, but same coaching staff. Phil, 100% AstraZeneca vaccinated. So thanks for that information, Phil. Says, I sit near Brady. It's a shame Brady's not. I sit near Brady. And I was hoping for more from this, but and he looked more impressed with our second half shit show than I was. If anyone sees our midfield, can they take them to missing persons? I would love to see Brady watching Huddersfield Town. He sits complete opposite side to me. But yeah,
Ed, Brady camp.
Yeah, that'd be great. Brady watch. Phil, you're on an official Brady watch from now on, and we'll be expecting not Phil Senior, but Phil who posted that. We expect Brady updates.
Where does he sit? Where does Brady sit?
He sits Kilnabank near the home end, quite close to the goal.
We get his seat number as well, so everyone can keep an eye out for us.
It looks like
any videos of him as well. Can you upload it?
Exactly. It looks like a pound shop Ewan Roberts does Brady with his dodgy hat. There you go. Yeah. Easy fine. Ed says, pretty good overall, played well and deserved a point, maybe even 3. So thanks for that, Ed. Robert Smith, he's joking. 3 wins in 27. By what standard is Corberan being measured? I think that's an interesting point, because he's not. Carlos in his post-match said he hasn't given a target for a league placing and things like that. And so that's really interesting about what measurements are in place for Carlos, what constitutes a good job for Carlos. Obviously, I know caveat 2 games in, but where do we expect to be at certain milestones throughout the season would be an interesting thing to know. And I do appreciate that the club may prefer to keep things like that internal, and that's okay. But I would like to know at some point what constitutes success for Carlos Corberan and where we're expected to be. And obviously,
what do you guys think on that? Just chipping in.
Don't get us relegated. I think that's pretty much.
Is that genuine though, Matt? Do you take that into consideration with regards to the squad? Or
yeah, look, we've had to transform. We've had to transform a squad hemorrhaging money without having any money. I'm quite matter of fact. I don't blame Phil for that. Phil is what he is. I don't blame the fact that he's not spending money. People do. If he's not got money, he can't spend it. Simple as that. So I don't blame the owner. I still stand by that there are mistakes made continuously in recruitment. I'm not going to hang players out to dry. I can't be bothered. But for me, we have to bear in mind we have no parachute payments next year as well, and we're still expected to pay another 30 million quid to Dean Hoyle. I don't know how that's going to happen. So Huddersfield Town are not cash rich. Huddersfield Town cannot go out and buy players and excite the fans. We have to survive until we get Dean Hoyle paid off and then build it back up. I don't really see any other way that we can go unless we get some kind of investor in who's happy to take a huge short-term hit and pick it up later on. I just don't see the way out of it other than just survive for the next couple of years. And it's not sexy. It's not great to look forward. And we have to get very lucky in the recruitment like we have with Thomas and Koroma. That's
it's a really interesting one, that benchmark of where we want to be, regardless of manager, regardless of players, regardless of anything.
I think
really,
the top 30 thing is a fair benchmark, isn't it?
Is a good benchmark. And
if Preston and Millwall can finish there happily, if Preston and Millwall can finish their season after season, why can't Huddersfield Town? Simple as
I think it's probably a moving target, isn't it? Because when Carlos came in, I would be expecting
it's moving from 21st to 20th on a year by year.
Well, an improvement's an improvement, isn't it? But personally, when he came in, and if you would have asked me then where would we want to finish at the end of this season, I would say
18th,
mid-table.
Yeah.
Then.
Well,
obviously with things that have happened, I'd be similar to you. If he keeps us up, I think he's probably done a decent job with players that he's got at his disposal.
I don't think some of those players are as bad as what we're seeing. I genuinely don't think some of them are as bad as what we see. I just don't think their skill sets are pretty much. I just don't think their skill sets are aligned with what Carlos wants to do. And I can see what Huddersfield are trying to do, in that they're trying to play a bit safe and trying to bring safe players in who make few mistakes. Tom Lees, you've said, Kosi, Tom Lees can't play out from the back, but own goals against Huddersfield Town aside, he's probably going to make less mistakes than Romani Edmonds-Green, etc. So I kind of see that Huddersfield are trying to play safe and trying to stay up. It's just not what fans want to see or hear, really, is it? Coming out from the club that we just want to keep our head above water for a couple of years until we can get the ex-owner paid off. It's just not really a sexy thing to say. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell.
Yeah, it does go against what we were originally told as well. It's immediately people jump on.
Well, like you say, things move constantly, don't they? Things move. I think as long as the club kind of say, look, things are move. Targets move. Theories move, etc. It all does. You can get halfway down the line with something and go, do you know what? We maybe need to move the goals a little wider on this one, and things happen like that. And I think if they communicate that, then I don't see an issue with it. But like I say, it's not the sexy football that we all wanted and thought we might get. But is what it is, isn't it? It's not.
Sorry, I took you away from your train of thought there, Matt. But it is an interesting one because, like
you made me waffle again. You tapped into my weakness of waffling.
So as a fan, you don't know whether you think. I know they're not going to go into great detail with it, but you sit here now tonight and you have absolutely no idea whether the club think Carlos are doing a good job or a bad job, And then, they're not going to come out and say he's doing crap or whatever. But it'd be nice to have a rough idea of what the expectation is, and then you can base your own expectations on their expectations almost.
Is Kosi asleep?
I was just looking at him then.
We're boring you, Kosi. I'm sorry, we are boring.
I think you can skate around Carlos all you want. Those issues are O'Brien. Get the money in, get him out, even if he's got that lead shirt and he's doing that. Forget it, Tom.
Oh, don't you start chest wanking. You do that enough at Rhinos games.
Man, like you've got this is what I don't get. Right, forget the bigger picture is having another Town squad, the club that's pushing forward with quality football.
It's fine, mate, but Leeds have got to put the money up, and as far as we know, they haven't put the money up so far that we want.
Time's ticking. Get him out. Get players in.
Get Victor Otter on the phone then and tell him to stop pissing about and put the money in.
Top following signing, mate. Get him out. Get him out now, because my argument is I know what you're saying, Matt, 2 years, but my bigger issue was with Cowley, and I want to see some nice football that gets me off my feet.
I know. We all do, mate. We all do.
I don't want to scramble for two. If we have to, even if we do have to scramble for 16, 15, but we'll kind of players that kind of excite me. So when I go down Huddersfield Town Centre on Saturday, I'm thinking, right, I want to go, when it's hard to sit down in November, I want to get down there. I want to click through that turnstile because Sorba Thomas is going to entertain me.
Yeah. That's fair.
I'm going to do something because I'm sorry, but it's like the style is totally gone, and he has his. Honestly, we weren't there, but there were games last season we scored something. I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. That Derby goal.
I'll ask you a question though. Can you be genuinely entertaining if you're losing the majority of your games? Do winning and entertaining go hand in hand though?
We've had this discussion before, haven't we? And if you win, you have to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
That's where the long term thing. I thought there was someone to sort it all out, but the problem is that we can't because we're stuck. Yeah, we got Pritchard out, but we're stuck, mate, with a guy O'Brien who wants out. Toffolo who wants out. So we're stuck with these guys. Their future's not at Huddersfield Town.
Harry Toffolo listens to this podcast. If he sends me angry DMs after this, I'm going to send him in your direction.
Mate, read what was it? Read what Devlin said, mate. Read what he said.
I'll be honest, I haven't read what he's
Players.
I haven't read.
Plural. Players. I just don't think
Did he say Harry Toffolo though? Do you know Josh Karoma's contract situation does worry me? It worries me.
But to be fair, mate, if you're an ambitious, hungry footballer at the moment, you look at the Town. Where does the Town head in? Like we've just said there, we don't know. So you can't.
What Huddersfield Town pay? The key question there, cause is what Huddersfield Town paying? Because at the end of the day, that's what keeps players at football clubs. So if Huddersfield Town are paying under the going rate for a player of that ability, then they're not going to sign. So maybe Huddersfield Town need to have a word with the paymaster himself and maybe make exceptions in some cases. Who knows?
And if you're not showing any efforts to further improve your squad with quality, then players are going to wonder what's going on.
Exactly.
Will want to get out.
People will not want to.
Cosi's right. End of the day, full stop. If you don't want to be at the club, get them out. See you later.
But it's not as easy as
no, it's not. No,
that,
it's not. Kosi, how much would you take for O'Brien? What's your lowest?
Mate, he's not going to sign, is he? Which is pretty much so. I'd want 5.
Oh, come on. with add-ons, with stuff on top
He's
of
not
that.
signing. So if you're an agent,
agree.
He's got 2
I'll be
years
like,
though. He's got 2 years still.
No, a contract, man. He ain't gonna.
Yeah, but he's got 12-month option, hasn't he? It's effectively 2 years.
Yeah, what's you like last year? He were bang average. You played all over the shop, but I just don't. You buy. I don't know, mate. If I'm trying to buy him, Huddersfield Town are desperate. They need the money. I'm not like steaming him with 8, 9, 10, but
No.
I'd want.
But that's
the problem, though, isn't it? Everyone in the football world that just listens to this podcast and they'll realise that we need money. So it might be worth.
No one listens to this podcast, Poz. We're all right. Don't worry about that.
There's no chances, Poz, but we're just going back. Some people were saying there, this was the summer to clear it out. So I know it's going over all ground. So 2 guys we could have cleared out. No, we'll sign them on for another year. It's just, I just don't get it. But the club, are we any further? When we finished our podcast in May, are we any clearer? Apart from Pritchard out, where are we with this big reboot? We're not, and that's what's frustrating me and worrying me because we're not.
This season was sold. This season was sold as the one where he'd have a go, wasn't it? I guess.
Yeah, Carlos is getting blamed for everything, and it should be. The good thing is the money seems to be out of football. Clubs are on their arse.
Yeah.
No one's signing. Preston are in turmoil as well as we are in a big mess. So. Tuesday's
You're going to say 6-pointer. Are you saying 6-pointer 3 games in?
Already.
Are you going to do it? Are you going to say 6-pointer?
Yeah,
Matt, I called Derby as a 6-pointer.
Yeah, I was.
We win on Tuesday. Sheffield United are not. They're not up to much at the moment, but it's all about mindset. And Tuesday's going to be big because we're pressing at the first goal, and then Sar's on the ball with 20 minutes in. Get it for a boo, and all that stuff, mate, is going to sap the strength out of our team.
This is where you need that shithouse with a cowshed t-shirt on over there to lead the singing and getting behind the lads. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm going to blame that Poz.
Blame a lot on Pozza. You got to sing more, Poz. You got me.
It is all my fault, boys. I'll be honest.
Even if we're losing,
like on Saturday, you try though. Like Saturday, it's 3-1 down, and you're trying to get behind team, and
that performance is life-sapping, though, isn't it?
I'm a big believer of the crowd can produce energy onto the pitch, but
it works both ways.
The other way as well. And when you just watch it in that, and I think we had 2 shots on target, which I'm presuming is as goal and as disallowed goal. I can't remember any others. What is it to get behind? And it's just shame different week.
No, I'm pulling your leg a little bit, but
it goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
No, you're right. No, you are right, Matt. This is where a crowd can come into it, and it's.
Well, it's like you say, 3 years. It's 3 years of getting beat, and it does take its toll on people. It does take its toll.
You can swing and shout as much as you want, but if Ryan Schofield miskicks it and it hits someone on knee and goes in, what do? You can't then be like, come on, let's go again.
Drink a lot of this, mate. It's all right, is this? It's not too bad.
Oh, don't get them going on that, Matt. That's sponsors, but yeah.
I know it's all right. It's not bad actually. I've just finished that. It's not bad. I'll give Magic Rock the due on that one. It's all right.
I think we just wanted to. You were like watching a bit of an horror movie, wanting to see just like the old traits coming back and stuff. But it's hard to judge there. But Preston is just such. Yeah, it's
6-pointer.
Yeah, but
we're all going 6-pointer. I'm going to tweet it and see what kind of response we get.
You were saying it though, mate. What is this DNA? We're almost like a counter-attacking team looking to pick off a team out. That's what I've kind of.
But it changes every week though, because that's the problem. It seems to change weekly, and there are points where you have to. The Cowleys were like this. The Cowleys took an adaptable and flexible approach whereby they would tailor their setup depending on who they were playing, and that's sensible for a club like us. And Carlos is starting to do it, I think, a bit more. We may see a lot more in terms of dominating the ball against Preston. I expect us to dominate the ball against Preston with sort of 55-60% possession. It's just what we do with that and how we create. Like you're very right in terms of going forward. We need to create more. Who are the players that will create? Pippa was on the bench, so hopefully he's not too far away. Toffolo, it's COVID protocols, isn't it? Hopefully he's not too far away. Sinani had a thigh issue, so he's supposed to be a number 10/false 10 type. we don't know. We've only seen him for 30 seconds twice.
What's going on?
Oh no!
Time for Town and get injured, basically, isn't it?
Positives. We look good from set pieces, don't we? We look like the crazy gang, mate.
We've been crying out for years, haven't we? We never scored enough goals from set pieces.
That's always going to wipe everyone out.
And now we've got Gary Roberts, Mac too, and there we go. Right, shall we finish off this football forum? So Sam, he shoots Coca-Cola. He says every time we play Fulham in the Championship, we lose 5-1. Never, it's true. Never expected to win. Clear golfing quality, but I can't say Fulham worked hard. Yeah, this is the problem which I had. What he says, I can't say Fulham worked hard for any of those goals. And I think that was my problem with it. I wouldn't mind if they scored. Do you know what? Their fourth goal, that ball from Tete, the right back, to Caballero, and how he took it on his chest, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. That goal was fantastic. The rest of them, come on, you know
Well, but even that goal where he brought it down, still.
Yeah, but at least you can see that. At least you can see that and go, do you know what? The execution of that is decent.
Yeah. But the defending shocking.
But the first 2 or 3, you're a bit more.
Yeah.
But he's right. Craig Holroyd says, still don't know what our plan is. Plan A is, never mind anything else. And it appears the players are the same. Midfield far too light and lack of movement and options. Right, so I've picked these 2 out. So Poz, I'm going to throw one of them to you. The other one, Joanne Parker, I'm going to float that to whoever wants to do it. I think there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek with this as well. And she's put, in 16-17, we were favourites for relegation and lost at home to Fulham 4-1. Very different start, very different stage of the season, obviously. We all know what happened next. In 21-22, we are again predicted to go down and lost again at Fulham. Ever the optimist, could history repeat itself? And I know this. She's put a wink at the end, and there are elements of, like I say, a tongue-in-cheek comment there. But I think what that made me think is, are we going overboard after 2 games? Should we just calm our jets a little bit?
Look at the signings we made though that season. Schindler, Hef, all those players that we brought on, even though we were expected, were quality and made a huge difference. So it's totally different. Totally different.
It was aimed at Pozza, but we've just bypassed it. But you know what? I think the biggest thing for me is...
next one's Pozza.
The biggest thing for me is we had everyone rowing in the same direction. And Benza, Bakuna, O'Brien and his agent, Toffolo, they're not wanting to be Huddersfield Town, mate. So that squad, Phil, we had it was different then because obviously we could bring him in, but for me, everyone wanted to be there and stuff. We've got still this issue with Phil and Dean and, other stuff in the background. And it's like, I can just imagine a town board meeting must be absolute carnage. To me, it's that.
Oh, I'd love to get involved in that.
I'd love to see it. Yeah. I'd love to see it.
Jarvis and what have you. I just felt as a fan base, everyone were united behind the players. You say perfect storm, but you need the unity. And we've not got that. And we've still, as much as it's been turbulent with Pritchard and others and stuff, that's why it's so frustrating when obviously only Phil knows what he's doing with it, Bakuna and.
Like I say, we'll leave that to the end of the window. If they're still here after the window, then Pozza can rightfully go in 2-footed. And if they're sold for money, then Phil can wave 2 fingers at you, Pozza, and say at least we've got some cash for them, and we'd have lost it otherwise. So we'll see at the end of the window on that one. But one. Yeah, I hope Phil's forking you by the end of the window. I really do, and the other Phil as well. We'll all fork you. So the last one that came through, and I found this an interesting. It's a negative tweet, but it's an interesting one with substance behind it, and it's from Hursty at HTFC Hursty. I'm going to come to you, Poz, because I think this resonated with you the most. And he's put, the worst part came after the final whistle. The club made a huge deal of X number of days without fans. 3 players acknowledged us. One of those was Schofield, and Schofield could have, hidden. Fair play to Ryan. He could have. If it was me, my shirt would have been over my head, and I'd have been running and crying to the stadium, to the changing room. So fair play to Ryan. One of those, Schofield. No coaches, no manager, no club captain. 3 players. Really shows how false it all is, and it maybe couples in with another comment where they've been the review show, the review show that they have after, they do the preview and review on YouTube. And I enjoy those, to be fair. And they've been that off as well. And there are accusations that the club only sort of pop the head above the parapet when the sun's shining, which I'm not sure is always true. But Poz, how did you take this? Because you saw that as well, didn't you? And you thought this was a decent point to raise.
Yeah, I think I messaged on our group to say I only saw a couple sort of make any sort of acknowledgement to the crowd. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I get you've just been beaten 5-1. You're not going to be wanting to stay on pitch.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think it's important as well that you also tell people your experience after the game as well with some of the players as well. I think that might be quite.
Oh yeah, but I was going to come on to that, mate.
Yeah, cool.
And
Okay.
but I just think. So I lost my train of thought. Yeah, after the match like that, yeah, you've lost 5-1. You're probably a little bit annoyed, embarrassed, maybe even your own performance or whatever. But the club made a massive deal about, getting everyone back together, and, our home, your home, and all that sort of stuff. And it would be nice. It would have been nice for players to make a little bit more of an effort in sort of, acknowledging, the people that were left. There were probably not that many left anyway, to be fair. Everyone seemed to go home as soon as that fifth one went in. But, Phil, again, playing it, as a professional, you might have a different take on this. But if I am always one of them believers that if you're willing to walk around when you've won 5-1 and have everyone die, bowing down to you and all that sort of stuff, you've got to also be man enough to walk around after you've been beaten 5-1 and maybe take a little bit of an earful and, take it on chin and go off. I know there's social media these days which people wade into players in on stuff like that. I think you've got to take the rough with the smooth, and I've seen quite a lot on Schofield. Obviously, he took the main brunt of it, and there's ways and means to do it. I'd like to think on this podcast we criticise with sort of reasoned opinion at least, rather than just going, your shit is shit is shit.
I won't accept that from Schofield.
Our reasoning as to why, and I did see a couple of comments where people were almost just being abusive for the sake of it. I won't repeat what I saw, but it's one of them where you think, I'll reply to that, and then you don't bother because it's just going to turn into a massive argument. But just coming on to your point, my young un, is absolutely town mad. He were wanting to hang around afterwards. We walked around the pitch after the match to put all stuff away and stuff, and Jordan Rhodes were on pitch and he was trying to get his autograph, and one of the club staff were really nice and said, look, if you just hang on, they'll all be coming out soon. So we went up to where they were coming out, and he was getting their autographs, and I sort of just hung back a little bit and sort of looked at it. And the demeanour between the players they did look absolutely dejected. And Ryan Schofield did come out, and he was one of the very few that I sort of said, come on, keep your chin up, Ryan. It's one of them things, in it. You've made your mistake, and you hope that you learn from it. And there's been a lot of people sort of saying, they don't care, and they're not bothered, and looking at some of the faces when they came out, it is affecting them. Matt, you've talked about it being a mental thing, and if you're playing in a losing side week in, week out, does it just become a chore to play? And I don't want to play today because if we lose, this is going to happen and stuff. So I think sometimes it's, as fans, you've got to be there to support. I don't think that you should just go blindly and support. I think you should be able to criticise, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. But where criticism turns into outright abuse it doesn't really sit comfortably with me. Phil, again, you've probably experienced it, so feel free to chip in and say how it can affect you. But I don't know. It's one of them. There's a lot of young lads there, and it could quite easily destroy some of them, which would be a shame, really.
It's absolutely pointless. But it's those players aren't going out to lose a game. And you hit nail on the head there. They'll be so dejected from the last couple of seasons, how it's been so negative. We've been losing games. The performances haven't been great. They're not going to be happy to lose. And especially someone like Ryan, who's a young lad. He loves this club. So, like you say, you can talk about mistakes, and any mistake that you talk about from a player, if they've got anything about them, they'll know about that mistake straight away, and then reflect on it straight after the game. Goalkeepers especially, because you're reflecting on it while you're playing as well, because you've got that time to do that. Just going on to like the after the game, it's funny. I never really thought about it in that way. When I played, it always seemed to be you kind of acknowledge the fans more so on an away game, because it was that kind of acknowledgement that bloody hell, you've travelled that way down to Peterborough to come watch us. We performed. Even if you perform crap, all you want to do is go into the change rooms and go and kick a few things down. You'd still go and acknowledge the fans because they've been there, they've travelled all the way, they've supported you. And sometimes you're quite embarrassed, because if you have performed poorly, which, massive respect to Ryan for doing what he did at the weekend, this kind of like an embarrassment then, and you feel like, because I've been absolutely shy, do you know what I mean? And at home, I think we've been spoiled. I think with the players that we've had, the kind of camaraderie, the Wagner, where we've come to the crowd, which I think was fantastic because it brings you all together. I think we've probably been a little bit spoiled, and I don't really see the players doing that after the game, even if we've won. I might be wrong. I would never do it. When I was at home, when I was playing at home, I kind of just, even if win or lose, I kind of walk off the pitch. Whereas when it was away, it'd always be that acknowledgement. So it's a funny one, isn't it, really? But I don't think it takes away from what the players feel about the fans, because the fans are great, even if they do leave a little bit early sometimes, which I'm sure none of you guys do.
Stop losing them, Phil.
I know.
This is Fury coming out from 20 years ago. Sorry, Phil.
I know. Yeah.
No,
so, it's a difficult one, mate. But yeah, fair play. You know, it's what gets my back up is when, like, you've waited there with your lad, and if there's a couple of players that just totally ignore and walk off, that I used to hate that, because at the end of the day, it's you know, it's for the kids as well mainly, and it makes their day. But your young came away from the game with autographs and speaking to some of the players, and I bet he was buzzing on it, even though we lost.
Oh mate, to a man, not a single player tried to shy off or run past without saying hello to him.
You know, like if a player, like if you hand your autograph book out and you say, "Can you sign that?" and the players literally, I know so loads of them, they'll just take it, won't even look at the kid, sign it, give it back, and walk off. I hate that, because there's no.
No, he had photos and he had a little chat with some of them, and they were spot on with him, mate. And that's what it is. When you're 6 years old, he were annoyed that we lost 5-1, but he didn't mention score all night. He was just buzzing. I must have looked at his autograph book 20 times today.
The Pippa photo was really good.
That's what it's about, really, in the end.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the Pippa photo, mate. That looked like they were having a little bit of sort of back and forth.
Yeah, Pippa, to be fair, I don't really know how much Spanish Jack knows, but they seem to be having a chat about something.
Maybe he'll surprise you. That's it really from the terms of the football forum. So thanks to everybody for posting your thoughts. So there's a lot that came in there. So thank you again to everybody for doing that, and we'll put the best of those up on social media as well. So thanks for that. Right, guys, we've reached that stage now whereby we are at the end of the podcast. Do we have any other business? Anything you guys want to raise? Kosi, you've unmuted yourself. Do you want to unload with anything else?
No, to me, a lot of this stuff's psychological and mindset. That, again, I'm just going on to Tuesday. I just think, honestly, I've been saying I want to see an identity in good football. I just think it's just a needs-most job on Tuesday night, and I just hope that the crowd it's a test for the crowd. The euphoria of the first game is gone. With not being back at my first game back, so I'm looking forward to it. But it'll be a lower crowd than Saturday, because midweek crowds always do, and that's all. Preston probably not going to bring many, because I don't think their fans are up for it at the moment. It's a test for everyone, really, and I think you're going to see a lot. Because I just think that mindset for Sheffield United, because to me that feels a daunting. Even though they've started bad, that seems a daunting. Sheffield will be looking out thinking, "Wow, we've got Özil there," but all of a sudden we can win, and I don't know, we could be sat here in a way. This is the upper football, but Fulham. Let's be honest, we were always struggling with his better players out. It's a lot to ask in 2-3 days for guys to come back. I think Tom Lees, maybe he'll get his debut, but. Yeah, I just hope we all stick with it and that as well, and stuff. I hope it's just not going to be a night like the last Fulham when Jan lost his job, and we
never really do well against Preston, do we?
Oh no, it's time to change that, and yeah,
that's exactly right. Exactly right.
Mindset thing and that as well. So yeah, please, Town, come on,
begging, please, yeah.
Positive thoughts, because
100% with you.
I'd start Rhodes there, Phil. Just his back, the chanting and all that. And I know it's mental to think of that, but mate, this is a guy who's filled Sheffield Wednesday's bench. They went down. He's on our bench. Come on, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no. Time we turn it.
Listen, only takes one performance, doesn't it? We saw that last year. Only takes one performance, a little bit of confidence. Your two wingers full of confidence, buzzing around, strikers, notching a couple of goals in space of them. It only takes that little bit, and it'll just build the confidence throughout the club. But we're waiting for it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's like what Pozza says. They've seen guys walk out dejected and stuff. Yeah, home again. It's quickly. We're not probably going to have.
Yeah, it's what you want. Perfect.
Yeah, it's such a question for a test for the fans, for the players. Come on, if we win this on Tuesday, it's like, I think. I'm feeling that we're kind of
the turning point, the turning circle. Do you think
it's shown something? I'm not so sure. A draw to me is, it might stop the up, but it'll be 4 without a win, and then you got Bramall Lane and stuff. I don't know. The crowd. Mate, it's a knife edge. It's not a faint-hearted job, is it, Tuesday? But come on.
You think we'll win? You think we'll do
listening
it?
to you there, because you get up. We've just been on here saying how bad we are. Now I'm buzzing. I'm like, come on, yeah, let's get there. Let's do it now.
2-1 win. 2-1 win.
That's what it is, isn't it? That's the fan in you that, yeah, we are crap, but do you know what? We might win on Tuesday. And if you didn't have that, you would stop going, wouldn't you?
Look, I think Preston's a really good gauge of where we're at. Yeah, Fulham are excellent. We've got COVID issues. You know, in hindsight, losing heavily to Fulham was potentially on the cards anyway. Derby was always going to be a tricky one. Playing them first was going to be tricky because they're at that stage really where it's us, it's us versus you. They've not fallen down and failed to get back up just yet, Derby, and that could potentially be what happens to them later on. So, I think Preston's a really good test, a similar club to ourselves, not having the best of time, and I think it's going to be a really ugly boxing match between two fat blokes in it outside the pub, really drunk match, outside the Frontier Batley from, 20 years ago, swinging windmilling at each other. It's not going to be a pretty one, and hopefully we can land that knockout windmill to get the 3 points. I think we can do it, Kosi. You seem quite positive. Pozza is positive. Phil predicting a win. I don't think 2-1. I don't think Brady and Josh are able to get a warm-up episode out before the game. So, we've done the job for him here, nice and easy. I think we're all, despite being mostly negative for the last hour or so, we're all going for a win Tuesday. There we go.
Okay,
that's football.
How can you be negative? You can't be happy about a 5-1, can you? But you're still going to find positive.
Exactly. And I keep trying to.
I think it's more realistic than negativity. People confuse the two, and certainly on social media, if you wear a realistic view, you will get someone that tells you that you're being negative, and sometimes you're not. You're just outlining what is going on, and I think that's what a lot of fans are doing at the moment. No one's being negative for the negative sake. They are genuine reasons and they are genuine concerns.
The thing is, possible if we'd have had a full side out with everyone fit and fighting, and that happens, then you're worried. Yeah, we are worried, but there's so many mitigating circumstances and stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people say they don't want to hear excuses, but we've got 8. One of the main reasons for Carlos and co dipping last year was we constantly had 8-9 players out injured every game until every game. I genuinely don't think there's been a more unlucky football club than Huddersfield Town since the turn of the year. I genuinely don't. Even that first goal was a complete piss take on Saturday. How Schofield shanks it, hits Mitrovic's knee and arm, and flukes and spins into that. How does that even happen? It's a complete fluke, isn't it? It's a fluke.
Yeah. It reminded me of watching Nick Hancock's Football Nightmares when I was a kid.
How does it happen though?
I must have watched it about 50 times because it's just so bizarre.
The thing is, Schofield could do that 50 times and it'll only go in the net once. It's just a complete.
Like when I'm at social media, Jeff Stelling latches onto it, soundbite, and it's just a brick back to Amon Schofield with. So in a way, it's.
Look, Ryan's going to be in goal on Tuesday. Pause. Make sure everyone gets behind him because he's a local lad. He's having a tough time. It's not nice. It's not nice to watch him struggle. It's not nice. Fulham fans spent the entire second half singing 31, you're effing this, and telling him that it's all your fault. That's not.
I used to get that every game.
It was your fault, Phil.
That.
So
we played Brentford away after Chelsea, and what was that? The lad called up front for Brentford at the time. Can't remember his name, and I let one through my arms, and they sang that for virtually the whole half. It's great, but at least it's singing about you. It's better than the I really used to do my head in.
Oh dear! I'm trying to think who the striker did. Was it the big guy that they had?
No, little lad. I can't remember when he went after. He was decent. Not Campbell, was it? Something. Can't remember what we call him. Not DJ Campbell, was it?
DJ Campbell, yeah.
Yeah, just bobbled it and it scuffed under my arms. So they just sang it's all your fault.
Yeah, whatever happened to Brentford there? They're crap.
I know. Fair play to them. They've done it the way that a lot of clubs want to do it, don't they? In terms of
they used to make the nicest pasta after the game. We used to get like little sandwiches and stuff from clubs. Brentford always made like this big fat pasta, chicken pasta. It was brilliant. Couldn't wait till the end of the game.
It wasn't such a bad game then, Phil.
No, they were all right, yeah.
They're all right, Brentford. Yeah, they're all right. Right, I think that's it for us this week, isn't it, guys? So
The guys.
Yeah,
So thank you to everybody for listening. Thanks for checking in with us, and get involved with the football forum, and let us know what you want to hear from us as well. You guys set the agenda. You tell us what you want us to, what you want us to. I've only had one of these. I'm all over the place. So we only want you guys to let us know what you want us to talk about is what I'm going about. So I still can't speak. I can't speak. I can't do it. One of these.
That's not an endorsement for Town Lager. I don't know what it is.
One of those.
Look what it does.
Oh, dear. I'm off for a lie down.
Matt, can I get that can before we kick off on Tuesday, mate? Because I think I might need it.
Right. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back next week. And maybe after the Preston game, depending on how it goes. Right. Thanks.
And don't forget, let us know what you want us to say or talk about.
See you
again.
Thanks, Phil.
All right.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.